Throughout my journey with anime and manga, there are many different character tropes that I find myself gravitating towards. As someone who tries to stay down to earth and realistic with themselves often, the human character is one I not only love to explore, but one I look forward to with each new series. With that being said, in this video, I will be discussing one of my favorite characters from One Piece and how their character is poetic and relatable. This is Usopp, the bravest warrior of the sea. If you've made it this far into the video, I appreciate you so much and you're amazing. My like goal for this video is going to be 1,000 likes. If we could get there, I'd appreciate it. And if you'd like more One Piece content like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications. Relatability in fiction is something that the author can utilize to create intrigue in their characters. I don't know about all of you, but when I'm reading or watching something new, there are times that I'm projecting my true self through the characters that I like. In a lot of ways, Usopp made me feel like I wasn't alone. We first learn of our sniper friend in the arc Syrup Village. Now, a lot of the community, at least those I've spoken to, don't rank this arc very high. They believe Usopp was a bit annoying, and Kuro was a mediocre villain. Their words, not mine. However, I found beauty in Usopp's character. In chapter 41, towards the end of this arc, Kaya and Mary have a final conversation about Usopp in which we learn about the reason he lies. Kaya says, "Mary," he says yes, and Kaya responds, "It's hard to lie." Mary says about the Klahadore, and Kaya responds, "No." And then Mary realizes that she's talking about Usopp, and he says, "Oh, about that. So you did want to stop Usopp from going." Miss Kaya, long ago, the villagers told me a story about when Usopp was a young boy. Not long after his father went off to sea, he lost his mother too. Mary says, it was the day before she passed away. She was wasting away on the brink of death when Usopp came shouting, "Pirates are coming, pirates are coming." Usopp runs into where his mother is shouting this, and one of the villagers stopped him saying, "Stop that, Usopp, you mustn't shout." But Usopp insists, Dad's ship has returned, Dad's ship has returned. He's come back for us, Mom. He said when you get better, he'll take us to sea with him." And of course, Usopp's mother, knowing the truth, says, "Don't say such foolish things, Usopp. Your father's not coming back." But Usopp, "I'm glad I married your father. I want you to grow up and be brave and strong just like him." But Usopp's upset at this point, and he says, "Don't talk like you're gonna die. Didn't you hear about the medicine? The wonder medicine? It can cure any illness. It's in a land across the ocean." His mother says, "Don't be silly, such wild tales. Listen to me. If I pass on, you must." And Usopp says, "I don't care if I'm silly. Don't talk about dying. I want to keep dreaming. I'm the son of a pirate." Being someone who has had a terminally ill mother and has had to watch her slowly pass on, I can understand wholeheartedly why Usopp is lying. What most people find to be the annoying part of Usopp is probably the most beautiful part of his character, human emotion and being flawed. Usopp isn't lying about the pirates coming because he wants attention. It was a way for him to create false hope and try to create a dynamic in which he doesn't have to live alone. I want to keep dreaming. I'm the son of a pirate. Those words hit me because when I was losing my mother, I would create fake scenarios in my own head in hopes of manifesting hope for myself. Usopp is doing something that many people do, especially those who suffer from some sort of mental illness, stress, or anxiety. They lie not to others to make them believe, but in hopes of convincing themselves and defeating those mental transgressions. Usopp is perfectly flawed in this instant, and throughout the story, his insecurities are what makes his character that much more like all of us. Usopp's father told him and his mother that one day he would return, and when he did, he would take them to sea. Of course, his mother is being honest, and she understands that Usopp is just telling a lie, so she's trying to make Usopp understand that his father is not returning. However, she explains to him that she's glad that she's married him, and that she wants him to be brave just like him. This is what creates a true goal for Usopp and gets him to keep pushing, even though he's usually terrified of opposition. This was his start to becoming a brave warrior of the sea. It's chapter 100 that the Straw Hat Pirates made their declarations of their dreams, each having their own, but Usopp pushed what his mother wished, that he'd be brave like his father, a brave warrior of the sea. This dream is perfect for Usopp because it creates a perfect contrast that adds interest to his character arc. Him being so weak and a coward, but having a huge dream like this one makes us wonder how he's going to get there. Imagine if his goal was being brave, but he was strong. We may not care as much because that's what we expect from him. However, hearing a character who's deemed as weak have a goal that incites feelings of strength is a way to create excitement. We feel like Usopp is weak, but his goal creates hope for his strength and, more importantly, growth as a character. At times in One Piece, I'm fascinated with characters due to their backstories, and I felt the same about Usopp's. But even in present time, I was fascinated by his character. During Water 7, we are introduced to the true beauty of Usopp and who he is as a character, because in so many ways, Usopp is supposed to be the most relatable Straw Hat to us, and seeing his flaws on display gave me such a sense of care for him. Watching him struggle against the Frankie brothers was rough, but it was important for him. It even further pushed the insecurity in him and made him question his usefulness. This was climaxed in what would happen next involving Usopp, the crew, and the Going Merry. I want to talk about now one of my favorite moments in One Piece which happened in this Water 7 arc. We all know about this moment already, but the peak of it was Luffy versus Usopp and what occurs afterwards. The already bubbling storyline and character arc Usopp was going through was enough to satisfy me, but the outcome was just as beautiful. Usopp was going through a dilemma in which he felt he may end up replaced. When the Straw Hat Pirates started, they had a rundown ship they named the Going Merry. The ship was heavily worked on by not just Usopp, but the others in the crew as well. It had gotten them through so many tough times that to Usopp it was just as much a part of the crew as anyone else. But once they got to Water 7 and they were around shipwrights, they found out bad news, that the Going Merry had reached its peak, that no amount of repairs will be able to save her. But Usopp wouldn't give up on the ship. The problem was that the others didn't necessarily share his mindset. Luffy knew he had to put money into a new ship and that the Merry needed to be replaced, and this is what sparked the negative thoughts inside of Usopp, as he felt if they'd so easily replace a member of the crew, that being the Going Merry, that maybe he would be replaced next. This part of the story for Usopp was beautiful because it implemented things that we as people go through in everyday life. Usopp is the human character, he is us. So seeing him doubt himself and second guess if he's useful created a relatable character trait for us as the viewer. Insecurity. We as people feel insecure and feel replaceable at times, and that's what Usopp was feeling. And because he saw that the Going Merry was a former shell of herself, he began thinking maybe he'd be the next one to be replaced. This led to Usopp making drastic measures. He challenged his captain to a duel for the Merry. This moment led to not only my favorite fight in One Piece, but also one of my favorite fights in anime, not because of it being aesthetically pleasing or flashy, but because of the thematic and emotional depth this fight brought about. Usopp wasn't just fighting for the Going Merry, he was also fighting for himself. He was fighting to prove he had it in him. To defeat this insecurity he was plagued with, Usopp ends up losing the fight, but he fought with the heart of a warrior and gained all of my respect because of it. Seeing the crew interact because of this fight is something special as well. Once again, we have a moment where the crew seems to want to have Usopp back on the crew, but Zoro has to be the one to step up and speak directly to the captain. He tells Luffy that if Usopp doesn't apologize, he can't come back to the crew, and if he does let him back without apologizing, that he would be the one leaving. Stating that this is real life, Usopp made his choice. They're not playing a pirate's game, and because of this choice, Usopp had to grow in this arc. There are many beautiful things about Usopp's character, but there is something Oda has chosen to do that creates even more interest in him. There was an ongoing gag in One Piece that Usopp's lies seem to come true. This is poetic to his character because when we meet him, he's constantly lying to his mother and his village in hopes of convincing himself that his loneliness and tough life isn't as bad as it truly is. By having Usopp have lies that eventually come true, you're turning the very thing that was once sad and tragic into something that makes his character useful and important. Now, of course, this isn't a confirmed fact, and the gag could just be coincidence. However, I believe Oda allowing these things to come true can give Usopp more confidence and help him to become the brave warrior he wants to be. Speaking of brave though, there's no other fight in the story for me that touches those themes more than Usopp versus Perona. This fight is in the middle of a very comedic heavy arc, and an arc that was a little slower, so you wouldn't expect great moments here, but to my surprise, there were so many classic moments in this arc. Usopp was not only fighting Perona, but himself in this fight. Perona uses the powers of her hollows to fight, but one of her strongest abilities was her negative hollows. There was a moment in which she tried to use them against Usopp, but they just wouldn't work. The thing is, Usopp wanted to defeat Perona badly. He had so many moments in which he wanted to be useful and protect his Nakama, but he was just lacking in power. This is something Usopp would end up nerfing himself with later on in the fight. He was mentally hindering himself. Negativity breeds even more, and it can directly affect your mental and in response your physical. Usopp started to feel inadequate, weak, and not good enough to help out his Nakama. This negativity ended up letting him win the fight in the end because he was so negative on himself that the negative hollows would not affect him. Usopp started questioning himself internally because he was trying to find out how he was so brave during Enies Lobby. He soon realizes that he was confident as Sniper King And in a beautifully polarizing moment, we see Usopp say, "Help me, Sniper King." He was questioning himself and trying to find his identity, and yes, he started fighting with the Sniper King mask, but as the fight started picking up, he lost it. This is heavily themed to his character, with Usopp defeating not only Perona, but defeating the weakest part of himself, the mental shackles that was keeping him from evolving. The Sniper King mask falling off as Usopp became confident in himself was a perfect depiction of him letting the secret identity go. He was mentally overcoming the mask that he used to hide behind. I think the most beautiful part of this fight is that the negativity Usopp gave himself in the beginning is what led to him being unaffected by the negative hollows. He was the first person to be unaffected by the negative hollows because of how negative he was towards himself, and he ends up turning all of this around to be confident and actually uses her own tactics of scaring to make her be easily defeated. This was not only one of my favorite moments for Usopp, but one of my favorite moments in One Piece as a whole. As you can see, these moments really describe my feelings and thoughts on Usopp as a character in the present, but chapter 758 of One Piece during the Dressrosa arc is what gave me hope for the future. During Usopp's fight with Sugar, we finally get a glimpse into what the future may hold for him. Usopp shows his progression in this moment. He knows what he's good at and what he needs to do. He's a support sniper, someone who fights at a long distance. Usopp finding his niche and what he's best at gives us so much hope for his growth during his journey to becoming a brave warrior. But what's truly interesting about his growth though is that he stays true to himself, and he does this all the while becoming stronger. In the process of doing this, he uses for the first time what seems to be observation haki, which led to him getting a perfect shot at Sugar, and instead of just a physical projectile to harm Sugar, he used an attack that's very suitable to him, an attack very similar to how he defeated Perona in Thriller Bark. He used a face of his that popped out and he scared her to her defeat. I can see the growth in him, and with the inclusion of observation haki here, I definitely can see the potential for Usopp to become even more accustomed to battle. For a character who was deemed a coward, Usopp has consistently surpassed his limits and has overcome being afraid. But I want to talk about bravery here. See, bravery is something that's very subjective and it varies person to person. Not every act of being brave has to be becoming very strong or being super tough. You can be brave by overcoming anything in your life. Say you're anxious about something. There's a lot of times in life I'm anxious about the smallest little things. And me just overcoming those hurdles is me being brave. It could be something as simple as somebody being afraid of the dark. If they sleep all night in the dark without any type of nightlight or any type of light at all, that's them being brave. So for Usopp, him becoming a brave warrior of the sea does not necessarily mean he has to be very strong. He can just overcome his cowardice. That is what's being brave for him, and I can't wait to see how he does this. I think the climax of him being brave is going to be him meeting his father Usopp, questioning him, finding out why he left, finding out why he chose his life at sea instead of being with his family. Usopp not being in the picture caused Usopp a lot of pain, and I think that their conversation is what's going to be the cherry on top and the journey of Usopp becoming the bravest warrior as he wants to be. There are so many ways to be brave in this world. Sometimes bravery involves laying down your life for something bigger than yourself or for someone else. Sometimes it involves giving up everything you have ever known or everyone you have ever loved for the sake of something greater. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it is nothing more than gritting your teeth through pain and the work of every day, the slow walk toward a better life. That is the sort of bravery I must have now. Veronica Roth. Thank you guys so much for watching this character analysis on Usopp, one of my favorite characters in One Piece. I worked really hard on this video and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys can understand Usopp a little better because of it. And if there's anything you felt like I missed that you wanted to add, make sure you comment down below. Also, my Discord link is down there as well. Make sure you click that and join the Synsei Grand Fleet server. And as always, I hope you all are staying safe and healthy during these trying times. This has been Synsei Inc., and I will see you all in the next video.